Hollywood doesn't owe us anything. It's true. We kind of have this idea that, Hollywood owes us a great movie. They don't. They're a business making what they think will hopefully we'll enjoy, so we buy it and then it makes them money. They don't owe us anything. We were never owed a good movie. I just really wish we got one. There, me from the past. You don't have to cry anymore. 'Cause we got one! Let's all go watch the review. Yeah. Hey, how's it going? I'm Laser Dude, and welcome to another video. Today we are reviewing Ghostbusters Afterlife. So Ghostbusters Afterlife is a movie that takes place quite a few years after the second one. It follows at the very beginning of the movie. We got Egon Spangler's, he's on the case. He has some big trap, elaborate scheme to save the world, but unfortunately the ghosts get him and kill him, which is something like, okay, let me just say, before we get too much into this movie relies heavily on Harold Ramis's death as a strength. And that is something I don't think I would have ever thought that could be possible or could even be done. But it is. They rely on the parts, the fact that he died, and they use it as this movie's strength and cornerstone, and that is something I greatly respect. But anyway, his character dies, and the house that he lived in, this old decrepit house, is inherited by his daughter, who he is estranged from. He's never really seen in a long time, and she has absolutely no sympathy from him, but she just got evicted, so she doesn't really have anywhere else to go. She goes there with her two children, Phoebe and Trevor, both of which are a little bit interesting personalities. Phoebe is a scientist geek like her grandfather. She's all into anything science related. She has a lot of smarts, but not necessarily the best social skills. She still has that sort of awkward humor style thing that her grandfather had as well. We also got Trevor, who is much more of a hothead. He's a little bit of a self-centered teenager, but in a way that's usually that's kind of a little bit endearing. He's not so much of an insufferable douchebag or anything like that. So they go to this small town, Somerville, and of course they start to discover what was her grandfather like. What did he do, and why was he in this small town in the middle of nowhere? And so here's what I want to say about Ghostbusters Afterlife. When I did my review of the Ghostbusters reboot, I said one thing was the most important thing. Stupid light keeps on turning on and off. Spangler, if you're trying to get a hold of me, wait till I'm done. Sorry. Anyway, I said there was one thing that was the most important thing to get right in a Ghostbusters movie, and that was tone. The tone of the movie. Now, did this capture the tone of Ghostbusters perfectly? Not exactly. But in parts, in fact, in a way, it takes part of the tone from the originals, but uses it to make its own type of new tone. A tone that's familiar to the original Ghostbusters, but is still doing its own thing. Like I tell you, there is a lot of callbacks to the stupid light. Spangler, later! There are a lot of callbacks in this movie to the original, but in not ways that is just so blatantly obvious and shoved into your face. Like, there's just a scene where Phoebe is just going through her grandfather's old stuff, and what does she come across? Spores, molds, and funguses. And just like, you look around to see if anybody else is pointing at the screen, and you're like, oh, come on, that's hilarious. I just want to tackle these movie, like some characters at a time. I'll start with some of the side characters. Like Paul Rudd's in this movie. He does a good, okay job as this side character in this movie. His character is kind of filling a little bit of the... well, I don't want to just compare to who they are basically like in the original franchise, because that's just trying to do too much comparison. They are trying to do their own thing in a lot of ways and a lot of things that I like. But I'm just saying, Paul Rudd, he's basically another typical Paul Rudd type character. He's not too different from Scott Lang in this, but he's still fine. He's enjoyable. I still like him. I still enjoy him. No problems with Scott. But with Scott, see, his name isn't Scott. It's like Glenn. Oh, next we have the, I forget. What is your character's name? It's something weird like Dreamer or something. Holy crap, I just found something out that I will get into when we get into the spoiler part of the movie, but I'll get into that later. Lucky, that's what it was. I couldn't, Celeste O'Connor, please. Lucky, she is a teenage girl of the town, and she and Trevor, start to hit it off and make a sort of a good friendship at the beginning of the film. I will say that out of the 4 characters that we got here that are basically the new Ghostbusters, she gets the shaft of, like, the least to do. She has some fun scenes. Dang, stupid light! Spangler! I will say out of the 4, she has, like, the least character development because she doesn't fully kind of join the team until the last act. Which, unfortunately, I guess it has in common with the Ghostbusters, because Ernie Hudson's character didn't get into the last act, as Winston, and so I was like, oh, that kind of sucks that out of these 4, the black girl is the one with the least amount of development, but for the scenes she's in, she's fun. Then we got the kid whose character goes by Podcast, which I don't like. I like that he's doing a podcast all the time. I just wish they called him something like Pod, because podcast sounds like, I don't know, it doesn't sound like that cool of a name, but Pod, I think it could be fine. But he was really fun. This kid was probably maybe the funniest or second funniest in the film. Either way, he was just killing all of his lines. He kept on coming across. It was so fun, so snappy. I really enjoyed his character throughout the film. There's like a very adorable scene where he kind of is trying to ask out Phoebe's character, but in a way that it's like grade school still. Well, elementary, I guess. You know what I mean? It's like it's not like he's asking her out on a date. He's just asking basically in a different way. I won't spoil how it goes, but I just thought that was absolutely adorable. But he has stuff to do. He's given stuff to do. His character is a lot of fun. I actually like that he's recording everything and curious about everything. And then we got Trevor. As I said, he's the teenager of the bunch. He's like, whatever, I'm a little bit too cool for this, whatever, I just want to worry about other stuff. But then when stuff goes on and crap goes down, he's like, okay, I'll get in on this, I'll get in and help. Alright, I'm just going to go down. I will compare it to the original because there are a bunch of similarities in terms of what they're supposed to be. Not that they're all carbon copies out of all of these characters. Like, for example, because we have Phoebe, played by McKenna Grace, and she is absolutely great. She's obviously kind of the Spangler type of character, because she's very similar to her grandfather. But it's different. Like, she has a sense of humor. Now, the other Ghostbusters did too. They all had sense of humors, including Spangler, but his was a lot dry, where I feel like hers is more that kind of funny because of how awkward it is. You know, that type of humor where you say a joke and she's telling jokes. She's trying to tell jokes. She's not just being a scientist that says something and is like, ha, that's funny, but I'm not trying to be funny. She's trying to be funny, but it's awkward and it's weird, but it makes you laugh. It's like, I probably shouldn't be laughing at that, but it's kind of funny. And I love that about her. She also has a little bit more of a emotional, like she basically straights out, like, there's a moment where he's like, aren't you scared? She's like, I'm terrified. I just don't process an emotion like normal people. And she's just like, but they have fun with that, and I like that because it makes her similar to Spangler, but also different and her own character, and I really loved her character throughout this entire film. I mean, she's the main character and she carries the movie, but unlike and I don't want to get on my soapbox and talk about the old the last Ghostbusters movie too much, but unlike that one, this is a movie that's just about a girl character who is our main character, and there's never any point where anyone brings any of that up or has to shove a message like, girls can be powered too. There's none of that. But I just really like her as a character. And I think the difference is because a lot of times I feel people, when writing characters like this character, her personality is that she is a woman. What do you mean we need more? No, that's it. She's a woman. That's her personality. The personality of the female gender. Where this character, Phoebe, she's so much fun. She has a lot of... I like watching smart characters do smart stuff. And she was smart, but she was also awkward, but in a fun way that made her really relatable, and I really liked her. I just think she is top-notch performance. Hand clap for that. And I think all the kids and all the characters did pretty good. Now, is this a perfect movie? Not exactly. In some ways, I kind of had a few predictions of, like, I will admit, I wasn't watching for what will happen next. Like, sometimes if a movie is boring me, I'm thinking, all right, well, this is probably going to happen, and this is probably going to happen. Well, I wasn't looking for that in this movie. I was enjoying it so much that I wasn't really looking forward to, well, this is obviously going to lead into that and that and that. There was a lot of great moments that just had me like, oh, that's smart, that's cool, that's great, I love that. And yeah, it's just... the effects are good. I think what the movie is doing well in this movie that the other ones didn't have was the soul. This movie felt like it had soul. And it wasn't just because it was in dedication to the late Harold Ramis. What they do with that is really touching and really nice, and you really feel for the love that all these people had for the guy. And, you know, it's like, I just... It's funny because I've always said that, oh, they should have the, characters who are the offspring of the original Ghostbusters, now they're taking it over. I had no thoughts of ever having, like, Spangler having his kids be the lead. You know, obviously you would just think, oh, well, whoever Venkman's kids, they'll be the lead. That's the obvious thing that's going to happen. But they didn't go that way, and I loved it because it made it less of a clone. You're not just doing the same thing over and over. Now, they kind of do that, but they do it in a way that's creative and it's different. I want to get into the spoiler part of this review quickly, so let me just give my rating for this film. So yeah, when it came to picking a rating for this movie, there was a few that I was thinking about. I was thinking, well, maybe it's could be almost even an 8. I was even thinking of possibly giving it, but I think I decided to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think this is a pretty good movie, a really good movie. I don't want to say pretty good. Pretty good would be, but this is a really good movie. I had a great time with it. I liked all of the side stuff that they had going on. Every little joke that was just a subtle joke to the original, I really liked. I had a great time with this movie, and I've had a few disappointments at the movie theaters recently, so just for this one, I just had an overall great time with it. So yeah, now I want to go on to the spoiler warning. If you haven't seen this movie, I recommend it. I had a good time with it, and I think if you are a Ghostbusters fan, you will too. I will say this, if you're not a Ghostbusters fan, this isn't going to be the movie to sway you. This isn't going to be like, oh, well now I get it. This is another one for the fans of the Ghostbusters. So when it comes to spoilers, I want to talk about Gozer, because I actually, when I figured we all knew that they were doing the Gozer thing again because of what happened in the, to trailers and whatnot. We could say, well, that looks like the dogs. It looks like they're going to do that again. And there's a lot of retread. And some of it I was a little bit disappointed by. Like, when they see that their mother's been turned into a dog, I wish they had a little bit more of time to process and react to that. But I got that you had to keep the movie going and keep it still light. I feel like this movie is, like Ghostbusters, I always said, is a comedy / horror / a bunch of other slashes. But mostly that, horror and comedy. And I feel like this one relied a little bit more on the comedy and less on the horror. But there were scenes that had me like, ooh, on the edge of my seat and stuff like that. And I like that. I will say that when it got to the end part and Gozer was out there, I loved what they did. Like, I loved every minute of it. First, do you think, oh, is she going to walk up and they're going to do, are you a god? Thing again with her. But no, I love that she just starts saying these weird jokes, just distracting. And then you think, well, why are they driving the remote control car? What is that going to do? But when they suck Zool, the ghost of Zool, out of the mother, and then now Gozer stops being this regal thing. and it's just like this half monster thing, just wanting to get her true form back. It's like, oh, shoot, that is cool. And I like it because it's not just doing the original. And even when the original Ghostbusters come back, as we knew they were coming back, there was a moment where I was just like, okay, I know this plan isn't going to work because we need the original Ghostbusters back. Even when they showed up, I liked that they had Gozer learn. You know, they also had Ray learn when she says, "Are you a god?" And Ray, they're like, "Ray, for the love of God, just say yes." Not that it helped. I mean, Gozer still wanted to kill them. But I like that they tried to cross the streams, and Gozer, learning what happened last time, tries to uncross the streams. Although I'm not sure if crossing the streams would have actually done anything, thinking about it this time. Because they crossed the streams because Gozer was right outside of the portal, and I thought that the crossing the streams was going to cause a full Platonic reversal that was going to force everything back through the portal. But either way, I like that Gozer learns and is like reattacks, and then they have to come up with a new strategy. And well, the way that they actually defeated her wasn't like, oh wow. I mean, they just get the trap that Egon had been working on. They finally get it to work, and then they shut it on, turn it on. But there's good moments in there, like with, you know what, like the original Ghostbusters don't get a lot of time in this movie. But the scenes that they do, like Bill Murray's on this set for probably no more than a half hour, and he just soaks up every minute of it. When he walks up and he's saying to Gozer, "Did you miss us? Did you miss us?" And then she's coming closer, like, "I never wanted you. You just come back into my life." Just perfect Venkman. Just picks up right where he left off, not flabbergasted by anything. Just is just having fun with it. I loved it. I love that. It's so fun. And I think there was an interesting way to have like the ghosts, because I always said like we know that the ghosts come out during these big events, right? That's what these ghosts, when the ghosts start appearing, it usually means some apocalyptic event is happening. That's been the consistencies amongst at the very least the movies. You know, the animated show, The Real Ghostbusters, that had just ghosts coming out all the time because they needed a new ghost every month, or every episode. I mean, but for the movies, ghosts have only ever started appearing when something apocalyptic is about to happen. When Gozer's about to return, or when Vigo is about to attain his full power. That's when ghosts start to come up. And I like the idea of like, hey, we were out of business because we put down the apocalypse and we stopped it, and then there was no more Ghostbusters needed. We're not like exterminators for rodents where you're gonna need them for the rest of your life. We were here and needed for a specific purpose for a specific time, and that was it. But now here's that time again, and it's another apocalyptic event happening. But I'm interested in the after credits sequence. Yeah, you know what? I don't even know what caused me to want to stay after the credits. I'm just so used to it now, and especially since I felt like this was a movie that was trying to start its own franchise. Like this wasn't, I could feel that this wasn't a one and done, right? They're building towards a franchise, a new Ghostbusters franchise with this, and I was interested in that after credit scene. We got Winston, who is like the one of the group that got really successful, and he's been keeping his Ghostbusters roots. He's kept the firehouse in his name. He's kept the Ray's bookshops from closing down, and he wants to reopen it. But then we get that shot of the ghost containment unit, and it's starting to malfunction, and that would be interesting. What if all the ghosts they caught just go all over, and now you need the Ghostbusters again because the containment unit is losing power? But I don't know. And that would be interesting. It's like now you got ghosts, but without the apocalypse part of it. But what happened? I'd be interested in hearing what happened in that containment unit. You know, what did the ghosts go through? The animated show, The Real Ghostbusters, made like this whole vivid world of the ghosts in these places, and whatever they were doing, and it was really interesting. I'd be interested if we get to see what this containment, what the traps really are like for the ghosts. Maybe that's something we can dive into. I hope that we wait a few years And the reason I say that is, like, I hope you give these kids a chance to grow up a bit more. You know, have them grow up, get older, and then now they're in their teens. They're all graduated, and now they want to start their own ghost busting business because Phoebe finds that, oh, there's something going on with the ghosts here. And then, you know, we got Ernie Hudson. Maybe he's their sponsor, and he's putting up the money for them. And he's like, hey, I believe in you guys. You guys saved the world before. I believe you can be a great part. There's ghosts going around. We need to put a stop to it. That sounds great. And then you could have, like I'm not sure if Bill Murray would want to do it, but I'm sure, I mean, if it was, you know, I don't know, this could almost be a TV franchise, I'm thinking. You could almost do something with that. I'm just saying, it would be so much fun. And I think it's unlike, I always worried, the one thing I was worried about this was the small town setting. Like, I don't feel like Ghostbusters is a small town movie. I feel like it's a big movie. But this is like the origin movie, bringing the characters together as a team, and now we're going to go forward with it. And I was going to do a comparison on the characters and who they're similar like in the original four. We didn't really get too much of that, or I didn't get into that, so I'll just do it now. Of course, Phoebe stands. We have Venkman's character, I guess, would be Trevor, who seems to be, he's a mechanic, and from what he can see, like, he has mechanical skills. We don't really know where he got them. That's not really explained, but he seems to be a mechanic. But he does have more of that dry sarcasm, like, oh, okay, whatever, let's just do it. But more with a teenage flair to that. Like, there's a moment where the mom's like, don't you think I have dreams? Like, no, you have kids. You've sacrificed your dreams for us. And that's a douchey thing to say, but you can also tell that he's joking. You know, his character is joking. He's not, like, so entitled, like he believes that. So he's more the Venkman-type character, just not... It's not the same. I mean, nobody can replace Bill Murray, but it's the same, similar character type. Then we have... Pod, it's Podcast, but I call him Pod, and he is the Ray Stantz type character. He's a believer. He's totally in on it. He has a love and a belief of everything. And he's like, this is so cool. I love it. It's so awesome. But so he's the believer. He's the one who is like really into all of this and is like so like into it in that way. And I think that's really good. And then you got, I guess. And I'm not just saying this because they're black, but they're both Lucky and Ernie Hudson's character, Winston, both are kind of like the character who's more have the grit, you know, the little bit less of the regal scientistness of it, more the I want to punch it. Unfortunately, she doesn't get too much to do in this, but I liked her character enough that I'd be really excited to see what they could do with a sequel movie where it's all of them together as a team, or even a series. I don't know what they're planning to do with it, but I think they could do something really good with it. I'm interested, I'm for it, I like this movie a lot, I enjoyed it a lot, they had a lot of fun with it, there was a lot of great callbacks. I mean, there was some stuff that I thought might be rushed and a little awkward, but overall, I just gotta ask myself, did I enjoy myself with this movie? And the answer is a resounding yes. So, that's all I really have to say about Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now we can just wash the Ghostbusters 2016 out of our mouths and move on with our lives, because we got a good Ghostbusters sequel, eventually. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Lazy Dude. See ya. Who are you gonna call? Oh, that's another thing. I'm just glad we didn't get a random modern version of it. When they do play the song, it's the song. And it's like, don't mess with perfection. You got it? Don't try to mess with it. So, I'm glad that when we did get the song, we got the song. So, that's all I have to say. Bye. Be sure to check out some of these other videos on my channel. And wait for more coming soon.